So for our first illustrative example, we are going to use a problem adapted from the book of Sir Jesus Milan. So I'm using several resources. I'm using the book of Sir Guerrero and Peralta, Sir Milan, Sir Dayeg, and standards issued by IFRS. So we'll use the problem Super Balut Company. The problem will be flashing your screen. So on January 1, Super Balut Company establishes a branch for an initial cash investment of 10 million. So we're going to divide our board in half. We'll have the home office books and the branch books. So to establish the branch, we debit branch current. We're just going to use branch current and home office current. Branch current and credit cash amounting to 10 million. On the other hand, for the branch, we'll debit cash 10 million and credit home office current 10 million. So being a capital account, so you debit cash and then you credit the capital account, which is in our case home office current. Then we start with the other transactions. On January 1, the home office acquires land and building to be used by the branch for a total cost of 30 million. The branch records the assets in its books. The fair value of the land is 11 million, while the fair value of the building is 22 million. The building has an estimated useful life of 20 years and no residual value. The company uses the straight line method of depreciation. So in this case, for the first one, take note that it was the home office who acquired the land and the building, so it was the home office who paid for cash. So we credit cash, amounting to 30 million. However, the land and the building is not recorded in the books of the home office, but instead in the branch. So we do not record land and building here. Instead, we record branch current, okay, 30 million. So the land and building will be recorded, we'll just use the red one. Will be recorded in the branch book. So you have land, you have building, then you credit home office current for 30 million. Now, according to PAS 16, property, plant, and equipment, normally the land, the building, or the PPE is recorded using the cash equivalent, its price, or cash price equivalent. Now, in this case, you have the fair value. This is what we call the lump sum or the basket purchase price. So we're going to allocate 30 million to land and building. Now, based on PAS 16, we're going to base the allocation sa ilang fair value. So in this case, the fair value of the land is 11 million. Fair value of the building is 22 million. All in all, you get 33 million. That would mean, out of the 30 million basket purchase price, 11 over 33, or just 1/3, is for the land, and 22 over 33, or 2/3, is for the building. So 1/3 of 30 million would be 10 million. That's for the land. And then 2/3 of 30 million is 20 million for the building. Next, letter B. On February 14, the home office transfers inventory worth 20 million to the branch. The home office pays freight of 500,000. So there's a transfer of merchandise. In cases of transfer of merchandise, you debit the investment account. This is how much? 20 million. And credit cash for the freight, amounting to 500,000. And then finally credit home office, shipments to branch. Shipments to branch amounting to, this should be 20 million 500,000. Then credit cash, credit shipments to branch amounting to 20 million. So on the other hand, for the branch will record debit shipments from home office, 20 million. Freight in, as I have mentioned in the discussion, regardless of who pays for the freight, it is the shipments from home, it is the branch who will record the freight. So 500,000, and then credit home office 20,500,000. Okay. Now to proceed, let the transaction see. By the way, just take note that the shipments to branch and shipments from home office is the same amount. That is because the shipment is at cost. Later on, we will discuss wherein the home office will provide a markup when they ship the inventories to the branch. So that is shipments to branch at billed price. In this case, it is shipments to branch at cost. So whatever the cost is for the home office, is the same cost recorded in the branch. Okay. For letter C, on March 1, the home office transfers additional inventory worth 5 million to the branch. This time the branch pays the freight of 100,000. So again, same entry, debit branch current amounting to 5 million. But now, since it is the branch who pays for the freight, you don't record cash here. You just credit shipments to branch, 5 million. As for the branch, you debit shipments from home office amounting to 5 million. Freight in amounting to 100,000. Credit home office only 5 million, and credit cash 100,000. Oh, sorry. Credit cash 100,000. So same entry. The only difference is that instead of the home office crediting cash, it's now the branch who credits cash because he pays for the freight. But nevertheless, if you will notice, freight in is always recorded in branch books. Then we'll continue with the next transactions. So letter D, on March 31, the branch acquires equipment. This is equipment, 900,000 cash. The equipment will be carried in the home office books. The equipment has a useful life of 5 years. Now, this is letter D. So, in this transaction, the branch paid for the equipment amounting to 900,000. So, credit cash, 900,000, because it was the branch who paid for it. However, the equipment is not carried in the branch books. Instead, it is carried in the home office books. So, it is the home office who will debit the equipment amounting to 900,000. So, again, whoever acquires or pays for the equipment or whatever asset it is, he is the one who will credit cash. So if it's paid for by the home office will credit cash. In this case, it's paid for by the branch, then the branch will credit cash. Now, the one who will record the equipment is the one who will carry the PPE in their books. In this case, it is stated that home office carries the equipment in its books, so it is the home office who will record the equipment. If it was the branch who will record or will carry the equipment in their books, then the branch will debit equipment. Okay. In this case, it's carried by the home office. Take note, the equipment is recorded in the books, but the actual or physical equipment is in the branch for branch use. It's only the recording and is in the home office books. So next is instead of debiting equipment, what you debit is home office 900,000, because this is treated as a transfer of. You can just assume that there is a transfer of equipment from the branch to the home office. And then this is branch current. We were using branch current. So home office current, branch current, 900,000. Okay, so again, I repeat, branch pays for it, but the home office carries the equipment in its books. And take note, the actual or physical equipment is with the branch. This will be relevant later on when we discuss the depreciation. Okay, so just keep that in mind. To continue, letter E. On July 1, the home office acquires furniture for 600,000. 600,000 cash. The branch records the furniture in its books. The furniture has a useful life of 4 years. So letter E, who pays for it? Acquires by the branch. So credit cash amounting to 600,000. In whose books it is recorded? The equipment will be carried, the branch records the furniture in its books. So, the furniture is recorded in branch books, 600,000. What would be the entry for the home office? No entry. Okay. Because it's paid for by the branch and carried in branch books. Next, letter F. On August 30, the branch purchases inventory for 10 million on account. No freight is paid. So in this case, the branch purchased inventories from outside suppliers. So we'll just assume that the problem is using periodic inventory system. So we debit purchases. No freight because we presume probably it was the supplier who paid for it. Credit accounts payable for 10 million. By the way, since you're still students, I discourage using abbreviations, especially during exams. So if you're making your assignments, you're answering exams, put the full account, and always use or always base your accounts using the chart of accounts. Letter G. During 2001, the branch makes a total sales of 100 million, half of which is on account. So the other half was cash sales. So debit cash, credit AR, credit sales. The sales were 100 million, half is on account, 50 million, half is cash, 50 million. So that's for letter G. And again, we erase because we don't have much space. Let's go to letter H. For letter H, the branch collects 30 million on its accounts receivable. So there was a receivable of 50 million. Out of the 50 million, branch collects 30 million. So that would be a debit to cash, 30 million, credit AR, 30 million. Take note of the additional information. The home office collects 10 million accounts receivable on behalf of the branch. So if you will remember my discussion, AR of the branch can be collected by the home office or the branch. Same way, the AR of the home office from its own customers may also be collected by the branch. So in this case, you have 10 million collected by the home office. So since it was the home office who collected, then the home office will debit the cash, 10 million. But kinsa mang AR, whose AR it is? Is it the AR of the home office or home office or the AR of the branch? That is coming from customers from the branch. So the branch should be the one who will credit 10 million. So what would be the corresponding debits and credits? So in this case, branch will debit home office 10 million and home office current, because we have been using home office current, and the home office will credit branch current 10 million. So it is treated like a transfer of money from the branch to the home office. It is treated like that. So it's treated like a withdrawal. So if you will notice, if the owner will withdraw something from the business, your capital account will decrease, so like this. Okay. And if you have investment and you're going to take out something out of your investment, then your investment account, in this case the branch current account, will also decrease. So this is how you record collection of the home office of the accounts receivable from the branch. Okay. So first, you debit cash for whoever has collected, and then you credit AR to the books in which that AR or that customer belongs to. And then the missing debits and credits, we just fill it up with home office current or branch current. Then you have letter I. Okay. So just for example purposes, for discussion purposes, let's just say it was the other way around. Okay, this is not in the problem, but we'll just discuss this. What if it was the branch who collected AR from the customer of the home office, okay, amounting to 10 million? So what would be the journal entry? So if it was the branch who collected, then branch would debit cash. Then whose customer it is? It's a customer of home office. That means that is the AR of home office. So AR will credit, home office will credit AR 10 million. So what about the missing debits and credit? We fill it up with branch current and home office current. So in this case, where it's the other way around, this is treated like the home office made an additional investment of 10 million to the branch, thereby increasing your investment. And then your capital account, since the owner invested additional 10 million, then your capital account also increased. Okay? So to continue with our problem, we have letter I. On September 30, the branch remits 35 million to the home office. So remittance, it's like a withdrawal by the owner. Debit, the capital account or the home office current, that's 35 million. Okay, and credit, cash, 35 million. Upon receipt, home office will debit cash. And because it is treated like a withdrawal out of your investment, you credit the branch current, 35 million. So just a reminder of the basic debits and credits: debit what you receive, credit what you give. In this case, the branch gave cash, credit cash. The home office received the money, debit cash. Letter J. On October, the branch pays 8 million on its accounts payable. So the branch paid 8 million, accounts payable, credit cash, 8 million. Okay? So that's for letter J. Letter K. During 2001, the branch pays expenses of 15 million. 1 million of which pertains to the expenses of the home office. So in this scenario, you have an expense incurred by the home office, but si branch only paid. So again, that's an expense of the home office, but branch paid for it. So what would be the journal entry? So letter K. First, we debit expenses. Since out of the 15 million, only 14 million pertains to the branch, we record 14 million expenses. Then the branch paid free cash of 15 million. So what is this 1 million balance? Okay, what is this 1 million balance? Because this 1 million pertains to the expenses of the home office, we're going to charge it against the home office current account, thereby decreasing the balance of the home office current. Okay, it's as if because the branch paid for the expenses, which is not its own, it's the home office expenses. So we're going to charge the home office current for it. As for the home office, because the branch paid for the home office expense, then the home office will recognize that expense amounting to 1 million and then credit the branch current account, thereby decreasing the investment account. Okay, so take note, in this, it's the branch who paid for the expenses of the home office. So the home office should properly record its expense by debiting expense and credit the branch current, decreasing the investment account. Letter L, the home office allocates general overhead of 3 million to the branch. So this is what we call apportionment of expenses or allocation of expenses. So the home office has an expense which should be properly transferred to the branch. So what would the home office do? Since this expense is initially recorded in the books of the home office, and then he just transferred it passed as a branch. So you credit expense amounting to 3 million. Okay. And then charge it against the branch. You debit branch current 3 million. Okay. Since this expense is properly transferred to the branch, then the branch would recognize this expense by debiting expense 3 million. So you see, this is a transfer expense from the home office to the branch. And then credit home office current 3 million. Finally, letter M, ending inventory consists of 1/4 from the first shipment and 1/2 from the second shipment from the home office. So since we're using the periodic inventory system, we must have an adjusting entry to adjust our inventory, to recognize the remaining inventory. So ending inventory consists of 1/4 from the first shipment. The first shipment amounted to 20 million. So 20 million plus the freight of 20 million plus a freight of 500,000 and 1/4, that is 5,125,000. So we have 5,125,000. This is for the first shipment. As for the second shipment, 1/2. So the second shipment amounted to 5 million with a freight of 100,000. So that is 2,550,000. Total ending inventory now is 5 million. Is 7,675,000. So what we're going to do, we debit inventory entry, or we could debit inventory December 31, then credit, in this case we'll credit income summary amounting to 7,675,000. So next are the adjusting entries, the year-end entries. So what we have are depreciation expenses. So we're going to recognize the depreciation. First off, we have the building. The recorded building was 20 million and with the useful life of 20 years. So that will give us depreciation expense. Expense for building is 20 years, 1 million. Next, you have a corresponding credit to accumulated depreciation building. 1 million. And then next would be, after the building, we have acquired equipment. So depreciation expense for equipment, It was acquired for 900,000 with a useful life of 5 years. So 900,000 divided by 5. 180,000, and since it was purchased on March 31, there was 9 months. Times 9 over 12, 135,000. 135,000. Now take note. In letter D, we'll read it again. On March 31, the branch acquires equipment for 900,000. The equipment will be carried in the home office books. Now this is different from the others. Okay, let's just continue with the others. So depreciation expense for furniture. It was purchased at 600,000 divided by 4 years. Since it was purchased in July 1 divided by 2, you have 75,000. So you have credit accumulated depreciation, 75,000. Now, we have 3 depreciation expenses. Take note, depreciation expenses are recorded in the branch books because it was the branch who used these assets. Now, for building and furnitures, they were carried in the branch books. That's why, if you will review the journal entries we had earlier, the building and furniture was recorded here in branch books. That's why the accumulated depreciation is also recorded in branch books. Being a contra asset account, this accumulated depreciation follows their assets. So you have building, you have furniture. Now, for equipment purchased at 900,000, if we're going to review, it states that the equipment will be carried in the home office books. That means the equipment was recorded here. Because of that, the accumulated depreciation should also be recorded in this home office. So the credit to accumulated depreciation equipment should rightfully be recorded in the home office books. So the question now, what would be the debit here and what would be the credit here? So in this case, you just put the reciprocal account. So you credit home office current, 135,000. And here you debit investment in, not investment in branch, instead branch current, because we have been using branch current, 135,000. Okay? So you see the difference between assets carried in the branch books and assets carried in the home office books. So if it is carried in branch books, the asset as well as their corresponding contra asset account will be recorded here. If it is carried in the home office books, the asset as well as their contra asset account will be recorded here. However, regardless of where the asset is being carried, the one who will record the depreciation expense is the one who actually used the asset. In this case, all assets were used by the branch. That's why it is the branch who should record the depreciation expenses. Now, there are some books. For example, for Guerrero, what he does is this. So, first, since he has the asset, like the equipment, what he's going to do, he record depreciation for equipment, 135, record accumulated depreciation, 135. And later on, he's just going to allocate this depreciation expense to the branch. So, he will record debit depreciation, debit branch current, 135, credit depreciation expense, 135. Okay? And then the branch will record depreciation expense for equipment, 135, will credit home office current, 135. So that this is what Guerrero does. This one. Okay? So if you're going to look at this, since debit already credits here, you can just cancel it out. What remains is a debit to branch current and a credit to accumulated depreciation, which is essentially the same. Okay? Depreciation expense 135. Home office current 135. So regardless of which books you're going to use, they will still end up with the same answer. Okay? So that's it. So next up are the closing entries. So in closing entries, we're going to close all nominal accounts. We're going to close sales. Going to close sales. We're going to close expenses, shipments to branch, shipments from home office. And here, you will know where are you going to present the account shipments to branch and shipments shipments to branch and shipments from home office. Okay, so since we're talking about branch books, we're going to make the closing entries for branch books. So first, we're going to debit sales. Sales that were recorded was, how much was that? Sales of 100 million. And then we have the purchases amounting to, how much was it? 10 million. Shipments from home office. Okay. Since it was recorded as a debit, you're going to credit it in order to close it. So there were two shipments, 20 million and the additional 5 million, that's 25 million. Freight in, that's 500,000 and 100,000, a total of 600,000. The total depreciation expenses, how much was it? Depreciation expenses, 1.21 million. 21 million, and we have expenses, 14 million plus the additional 3 million. Yeah, 14 million, and then the 3 million allocated by the home office to the branch. So 14 plus 3 half, 17 million. So you get the income summary. Okay. To get the total income na lang. So you have here sales 100. Okay. If you remember, we have that debit to inventory. Sometimes the adjusting entry for inventory is recorded here immediately. But since we already made an entry of this, remember we had this entry, inventory and credit income summary. So to have a net income, so that this will show a net income, we can just debit income summary, the one we recorded earlier in letter M. But if you will not have this journal entry in letter M, you will just debit inventory and here. Okay. But since we made this entry, okay, we already set up the inventory account. We will just cancel the income summary here, amounting to, how much was that? 7.675 million. So total debit minus total credit. Okay, that will give us 53,865,000. Okay, so 53,865,000. So you have the net profit. So after having your income summary, what we normally do in sole proprietorship is that we close it to the capital account. Since our capital account here is home office current, we're going to close it in the account home office current. So debit income summary 53,865 million, credit home office current. Okay. in the books of the home office, since his investment made a return, okay, his investment made a profit. So that will increase his investment, or in this case we use the branch current, 53,865,000, in credit income summary, 53,865. Okay. So that's the last entry we're going to make. And then for the statement of profit and loss, so what we're going to do is we're just going to rewrite our closing entries in a form of statement of profit or loss. Okay. So we start with sales, 100 million, then cost of goods sold. We have no beginning inventory, but we have purchases. Look at the purchases, that was 10 million. Yeah, 10 million. Now, where do we put shipments from home office? Shipments from home office will be added to your purchases because it adds to your inventory, which is available for resale to your customers. So our total shipments amounts to 25 million with a freight in of 600,000. So total goods available for sale will be 35,600,000 less inventory end, which is 7,675,000. We have our cost of goods sold, amounting to 27,925 million. So gross profit would be 72 less depreciation expense and various expenses. Various expenses was 17 million. Total depreciation expense was 1,210,000. 10,000. We get the net income of 53,865,000. So again, I repeat, shipments from home office is added in order to get the total goods available for sale. How about in the income statement of the home office? Let's just say this is the income statement of the home office. Of course, you would not have the shipments from home office because you can see it. You can see this account only in the books of the branch. In the books of the home office, we see the shipments to branch account. Where do we put shipments to branch account? We deduct this one after TIGAS, or after the total goods available for sale. So you have beginning plus purchases plus freight in cost total goods available for sale. You deduct shipments to branch, you will get total goods available for own sale. Then you further deduct inventory and you get the cost of goods sold. Okay? So that's, apologies for that. That ends our first illustration. Okay?